And now we jump to 1998, the Downtown Historic Railway, and here's Vic Sharman, one of our instructors, having some fun with some ladies in period costumes that were invited from the city. And here's Interurban car 1207, driven by Don Bellamy, being pulled out for the first time at the official opening. This is at Moberly and 6th Avenue, also known as Leg and Boot Station. Nice, lovely, sunny day on this opening. Here we are looking westbound, the car coming back to Leg and Boot Station. And there, off in the distance, is the car coming from Granville Island back to Leg and Boot. It's called Leg and Boot Station because back at the turn of the century, the police found an actual leg in a boot, which is one of Vancouver's many unsolved murder mysteries. Car 1207 here was strictly on display in 1997. There was no wire. And here in 1998, we operated from Moberly and 6th, which we are standing at, looking west to Granville Island. Car 1207 was built in New Westminster in 1905. Here we have Frank Horne, one of our other instructors. He's just put that pole up and he's pulled this one down. Now the car is ready to go back to Granville Island for another trip. You can see the car here, another angle of it. Pole is up at the back and down at the front, ready to go back. And here we have the inside of the car, and a lot of people on this trip. Number of passengers. Car very well done up, and here we are off to Granville Island with the flag people holding back the traffic. This particular line of track was previously owned by the Canadian Pacific Railway, CPR, and was leased to the BC Electric Railway. There was never any passenger service ever operated on this Falls Creek track, since it only ran to Yukon Street. East of Yukon was the Great Northern Railway. And here we are panning over to Frank Horne. And as you notice, he is standing, which is normally the way that the motormen were in the city. They ended up standing while driving. Better view of any obstructions and people running in front of the cars. And here we are slowing down because there's a break in the wall, and back on our way to Granville Island. BC Electric Railway serviced these industries with electric freight locomotives. Slowing down here to say hi to someone, and then we'll be on our way back westbound towards Granville Island. From Granville Island to Yukon, a 2-kilometer track was bought by the City of Vancouver from the Canadian Pacific Railway for $9 million. And from Yukon to Main Street, which is another 1 kilometer, was bought for $600,000. Frank Horne that you see here driving, and Vic Sharman that you've already seen at the beginning, and Don Bellamy were our 3 instructors from the very beginning. All 3 of them have experience driving these Interurbans before they were retired in the 1950s. And we're pulling into Granville Island. And it looks like Frank is making a nice smooth stop. And as you can see, we end up staying here for a little bit in order to, and we unload from the back and reload from the front, as you see from here. Another view from inside, and on our way back to Morbely and 6th Avenue, Leg and Boot Station. Leg and Boot Station is now the halfway point because of the extension that has occurred to Ontario and 1st Avenue, and last year in 2001 extension to Quebec Street. And we see off in the distance the Interurban coming back into Granville Island Station. This was termed a double-ended car because you had the two poles. So you notice the pole is up at the rear, and so when you pull in here, you would end up putting the pole up at the front, which would then end up being the rear, and then switching over to the other end and pulling that pole down. And it looks like Frank is teaching Angus McIntyre, another one of our members. As you can see, we disembark now from the rear of the coach. The conductor will quickly jump on, shut the doors, move to the front, and load up. And here we see Frank doing some instruction and showing some of the passengers what we had to do. There you see the pole is up at the rear, pulled at the front, and ready to head back. And there is Angus McIntyre. He's our treasurer, and there's Frank Horne. Frank drove for the BC Electric from 1946 to 1951 on the Burnaby Lake, Central Park, and Chilliwack lines, and then worked from 1951 until 1985 for the Great Northern Railway. We're now proceeding from Granville Island here, heading east towards Leg and Boot Station. Like I said before, 1207 was on display only in 1997. It operated from Granville Island to Moberly and 6, Leg and Boot Station in 1998. An extension to Ontario and 1st Avenue was in 1999 when car 1231 joined the fleet. And then eventually an extension to Quebec Street in 2001. This is a nice straight track, as you can see, and so it was an opportunity for all of us to open it up. And there is Angus with Frank, and opening the speed up in notches. And then shutting it right back and just letting it roll. as we approach Moberly and 6, we will have to slow down and wait for the flag people to give us permission to come through after they have stopped the traffic. And here we go. This is Angus McIntyre driving, so we'll see if he can make a nice easy stop. And yes, he does. There's 1207 heading back, flag people running up to stop the traffic, allowing it to head back to Granville Island. And there's Dale Laird, superintendent. Today he was a flag person. And here we are in 2001. We're looking east, and we have car 1231 approaching the passing track. Car 1231 is a St. Louis car built in 1912. And it'll sit on the passing track, waiting for Interurban car 1207 coming from Granville Island to pass on the northern track, and here it comes. There it goes towards Ontario and First Avenue, and eventually Quebec Street. At this time, I'd like to thank Vic Sharman and the late Ken Hodgins for making the original footage. Thanks also to Vic Sharman and Frank Horne for their commentary, which was added in 1990, 40 years after the original footage was taken. Here we see car approaching, coming up the 3% grade. Car 1207 coming back from Quebec Street, and there it goes. Thanks to BC Transit for restoring Interurban car 1207, who we see taken off going towards Granville Island. Thanks to Mayor Philip Horne of Vancouver and City Councillors for their support and continued financial support of the Downtown Historic Railway. Thanks also to former Vancouver Councillors Don Bellamy, Vic Sharman and Frank Horne for being at the Downtown Historic Railway nearly every weekend over the past 4 years, training all of us volunteers. Thanks also to Jesse Jehudi of AAA Movies for helping produce this video. Here we see the car coming down at 3% grade, coming down quite quickly. Car 1231, and there it goes. Vic Sharman and his wife in front of car 1231. And there's car 1231 again. The Downtown Historic Railway, see you later, would not be around without the vision of Dale Laird, our superintendent. So come on down and ride. We run from May to October, and Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. There's Don Bellamy. See you later, Don. See you next year. So come on down and ride with us. My name is David Asselin, and I'm the president of the Transit Museum Society, and it was nice having you along for the ride today.